The pristine white hospital room at Reddington Hospital felt like a cage draped in luxury. Mercy Daniel stared at the bill on the bedside table, 847,000 naira for 2 nights, and felt her stomach turn. She earned half that in a good month. "Mommy, the nice man said not to worry about the paper," Chi-Chi whispered, clutching her stuffed elephant. Mercy's hands trembled as she picked up the invoice stamped paid in full by Meridian Systems' corporate account. Below it, a business card, Dante Kim, CEO, Crisis Management Solutions. She didn't know this man. She'd never heard of his company. Yet somehow, he'd taken control of the worst moment of her life, swept in like a corporate guardian angel, and now she owed a debt she could never repay. The door opened. A tall Korean-American man in an immaculate charcoal suit stepped inside, his expression unreadable. "Ms. Daniel," he said quietly, "we need to talk about what happened 3 days ago. About why your daughter's emergency call came directly to my personal line. And about what I saw in your apartment that I wasn't supposed to see." Mercy's blood ran cold. What had his cameras captured? What did he know? 72 hours earlier, Mercy's small apartment in Lekki Phase 1 had been a war zone of creativity and desperation. Fabric samples covered every surface. Her laptop displayed 17 open tabs, and the pitch deck for West Atlantic Bank glowed on her screen like a beacon of hope she couldn't afford to lose. This contract would change everything. 6 months of steady income, credibility with major clients, and maybe finally, the ability to stop choosing between Chi-Chi's school fees and her own medical insurance. Her 5-year-old daughter sat cross-legged on the floor, carefully coloring a drawing of their small family. Just the two of them, holding hands under a smiling sun. Chi-Chi hummed softly, occasionally glancing up at her mother with concern that seemed too old for her young face. "Mommy, you should eat something," Chi-Chi said, holding up a plantain chip. "You've been working since morning." Mercy waved her off, not unkindly, but with the distraction of someone already 3 steps ahead in her mind. "Mommy will eat later, baby. I promise. This presentation has to be perfect." The headache had started 2 hours ago, a dull throb behind her eyes that she'd tried to ignore with painkillers and determination. The room felt warmer than usual, and the letters on her screen occasionally blurred before sharpening again. Warning signs she'd learned to dismiss over 18 months of single parenthood and relentless hustle. If you're still watching, you already know something terrible is about to happen. Hit that subscribe button now, because what comes next will show you why a single phone call can change 2 lives forever. Mercy stood up to grab her water bottle from the kitchen counter, and the world tilted sideways. The floor seemed to rush up at her, or perhaps she was falling toward it. The distinction became meaningless as her vision tunneled into a pinpoint of light. She heard the crash of her laptop hitting the floor, felt her knees buckle, and then there was only the cold, hard certainty of the tiles against her cheek. Chi-Chi's scream cut through the fog like a knife. "Mommy! Mommy, wake up!" The little girl dropped her crayons and ran to where her mother lay sprawled on the floor, one arm stretched out toward the counter she'd tried to grab. Mercy's eyes were half open but unfocused, her breathing shallow and rapid. Chi-Chi shook her mother's shoulder with small, desperate hands. "Mommy, please. Please wake up." But Mercy didn't respond. Her lips moved slightly, forming soundless words that might have been phone or help before even that small movement ceased. Terror flooded Chi-Chi's small body, but somewhere beneath the panic, her mother's training kicked in. Mercy had been vigilant about emergency preparedness, perhaps too vigilant for a child so young, but single mothers in Lagos learned to plan for every contingency. If Mommy can't wake up, you go to the fridge. You call the numbers on the paper. You tell them our address. You stay calm. Chi-Chi's legs felt like jelly as she ran to the refrigerator, her breath coming in hiccuping sobs. The magnet-held paper with emergency contacts fluttered as she grabbed it, but in her panic, it slipped from her small fingers and fell behind the fridge. She couldn't reach it. She couldn't get it back. "No, no, no," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Then she remembered Uncle Tun's old business card, the one that had been tucked behind the emergency list. Her mother's late uncle, the one who died before Chi-Chi was born, the military man whose few possessions Mercy kept as memories. The card had a number written on the back in faded ink. Chi-Chi grabbed it with trembling fingers and ran to the landline phone on the small table by the door. She could barely see the numbers through her tears as she carefully pressed each digit, double-checking against the card like her mother had taught her. The phone rang once, twice. Then a voice answered, deep, calm, and utterly unexpected. "This is Dante Kim." Across the city in Victoria Island, Dante had been reviewing infrastructure contracts in the glass-walled conference room of Meridian Systems' temporary West African headquarters. His company specialized in crisis management logistics, the invisible scaffolding that kept emergency services running when disasters struck. For 3 weeks, he'd been negotiating with Lagos state government to upgrade their emergency response coordination systems. The call came through on his tablet, lighting up a notification he hadn't seen in 7 years. Ghost Protocol Line 7, a defunct executive hotline from his company's early days, supposedly decommissioned but apparently rerouted through some forgotten server. Dante's security protocols were meticulous. Nothing should have been able to reach this device without passing through 3 layers of verification. Yet the call was there, insistent and impossible. He answered more out of curiosity than concern. "This is Dante Kim." The sound of a child crying hit him like a physical blow. "Mister," the small voice gasped between sobs. "Mister, my mommy won't wake up. She fell down and I can't make her wake up." Every instinct Dante had developed over 15 years of crisis management snapped into focus. The memory of his sister's face, pale and still in a hospital bed while he'd been stuck in traffic, unable to reach her in time, flashed through his mind with brutal clarity. "Not again. Never again. Listen to me very carefully," Dante said, his voice dropping into the tone he used for disaster zones and emergency evacuations. "You're doing exactly the right thing by calling. What's your name?" "Chi-Chi," the girl whispered. "Chi-Chi, that's a beautiful name. I'm going to help your mommy, but I need you to help me first. Can you do that?" "Yes, sir." "Good. Is your mommy breathing? Put your hand near her nose and mouth. Do you feel air?" There was a shuffling sound then. "Yes. Little bits of air." Dante was already moving, his fingers flying across his tablet's interface. "That's very good, Chi-Chi. Now, can you tell me where you live? What's your address?" It's apartment 12, Block C, Admiralty Estate, Lekki Phase 1. Dante's jaw tightened. Lekki Phase 1 to Victoria Island could take 30 minutes in Lagos traffic. Unacceptable. Comment below if you've ever had to make an impossible decision in under 10 seconds. Because what Dante did next would save a life, but at a cost neither he nor Mercy could have predicted. He pulled up 2 screens simultaneously. On the left, he dialed Lagos State Emergency Services, the official proper channel. On the right, he activated Meridian Systems' private rapid response team, a unit he'd built for corporate emergencies and high-profile client protection. "This is Dante Kim, authorization code Delta 77 Bravo," he said into his secure line while keeping Chi-Chi on speaker. "Medical emergency, apartment 12, Block C, Admiralty Estate, Lekki Phase 1. Adult female, unconscious, breathing but unresponsive. Child on scene, approximately 5 years old. I need a team there in 8 minutes or less." "Sir, that violates." "I don't care what it violates. Deploy now. Full medical kit. Paramedic Chun and Dr. Adeyemi. Authorization is mine. Go." To Lagos Emergency Services, he provided the same information, but he knew their response time. He'd spent 3 weeks analyzing their data. 15 to 25 minutes on a good day. Chi-Chi's mother might not have 15 minutes. "Chi-Chi," Dante said gently, "help is coming very fast. I need you to do something brave. Can you unlock your front door?" "The big lock is too high," Chi-Chi said, her voice steadier now that someone was telling her what to do. "What about the small lock? The one you can reach?" "I can do that one." "Perfect. Go unlock it now, then come back to the phone." He heard her small feet running, the click of a lock, then her breathing close to the receiver again. "It's open, sir." "You're so brave, Chi-Chi. Now I want you to sit right next to your mommy and hold her hand. Talk to her. Tell her about your day. Even if she can't answer, she can hear you, and it will help her. Can you do that?" "Yes, sir." A pause. "Will my mommy die?" The question gutted him. Dante closed his eyes briefly, remembering asking the same question about his sister at 15 years old. No one had given him a straight answer then, and she died anyway. "I'm going to do everything I can to make sure she doesn't," Dante said. "And I'm very good at my job." 7 minutes and 43 seconds later, his team burst through the door of Mercy's apartment. Dr. Adeyemi, a veteran emergency physician Dante had recruited from the overwhelmed public health system with a salary triple what the government paid, swept into the small space with practiced efficiency. "Female, late 20s, pulse weak but steady," Dr. Adeyemi announced, his fingers on Mercy's wrist. Breathing shallow. Signs of severe dehydration and possible hypoglycemia. Get the 4 started. Paramedic Chin, efficient and calm, already had the medical kit open. Within 90 seconds, they had Mercy on a portable stretcher within 4 line feeding glucose and saline into her system. Chi-Chi watched with huge, frightened eyes as the strangers worked on her mother with equipment that looked like something from a science fiction movie. Is she going to wake up? Chi-Chi asked Dr. Adeyemi. The doctor looked at the little girl and smiled, genuine warmth breaking through professional detachment. Your mommy is going to be fine. She's just very tired and her body needed help. We're going to take her to a hospital where she can rest, and you're coming with us. What hospital? Chi-Chi asked, that adult-like concern surfacing again. Dr. Adeyemi glanced at the tablet mounted on the stretcher, reading the instructions Dante had transmitted. Reddington Hospital. It's very nice. They have good food. What Dr. Adeyemi didn't mention was that Reddington Hospital was one of the most expensive private facilities in Lagos, and that the Ethal Wing, where Mercy would be taken, was reserved for VIP patients and corporate executives. He also didn't mention that every second of Mercy's care would be billed to Meridian Systems' corporate account under Dante's personal authorization code. The Lagos State Ambulance arrived 14 minutes after the initial call, a perfectly reasonable response time by local standards, but 7 minutes after Mercy was already en route to Reddington in Meridian Systems' private medical vehicle. Like and share this video if you believe in guardian angels, because Dante Kim was about to become one, whether Mercy Daniel wanted him to be or not. For 2 days, Mercy drifted in and out of consciousness in a room that smelled like lavender and expensive linens. When she finally woke fully, clarity returning like a slow sunrise, her first thought was of Chi-Chi. Her second thought was of the pitch presentation. Her third thought, as she took in the private suite with its view of Lagos skyline, was, I can't afford this. Mrs. Okafor, the nurse assigned to her care, appeared almost instantly. Welcome back, dear. You gave everyone quite a scare. Where's my daughter? Mercy's voice was hoarse. Chi-Chi is in the family lounge watching cartoons and eating jollof rice. She's been asking about you every hour. Mrs. Okafor adjusted the 4 drip with practiced hands. You're at Reddington Hospital, the Ethal Wing. You were treated for severe dehydration, hypoglycemia, and exhaustion-induced syncope. Mercy tried to sit up, but her arms felt like water. I need to see my daughter, and I need to know how much this is costing. Mrs. Okafor's expression became carefully neutral. Your daughter will be brought in shortly. As for the cost, that's something you'll need to discuss with the administrator. And with Mr. Kim. Who's Mr. Kim? The gentleman who arranged your transfer and care. He's been here every day, checking on your progress. Alarm bells rang in Mercy's mind. She'd heard stories. Wealthy men who preyed on vulnerable women, offering help that came with invisible strings. She'd seen enough of Lagos underbelly to know that debts were always collected, one way or another. When the door opened again, Chi-Chi burst through with the pure joy only a 5-year-old could muster, her stuffed elephant trailing behind her. Mommy, you're awake. The nice man said you would wake up soon. Mercy held her daughter tight, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair, feeling the realness of her small body. Baby, I'm so sorry I scared you. You were so brave. I called the number like you taught me. And Mr. Kim answered. He was so nice, Mommy. He talked to me until the doctors came. The name meant nothing to Mercy. She'd never heard of any Mr. Kim. Yet apparently, this stranger had orchestrated her rescue, her transport, and her care in what was clearly a hospital suite far beyond her means. The administrator came later with the bill. 847,000 Nigerian nairas for 2 nights, including emergency treatment, specialist consultations, private room, and meals. Mercy's hands shook as she read the itemized list. This was more than she'd earned in the past 4 months combined. But stamped across the total in bold red letters, paid in full. Meridian Systems corporate account. Beneath the invoice was a business card. Simple, elegant, expensive cardstock. Dante Kim, CEO, Crisis Management Solutions. She was still staring at it when the door opened, and the man himself walked in. Dante Kim was not what Mercy had expected. She'd braced herself for someone older, perhaps, or someone with that particular swagger wealthy men often carried. Instead, she saw someone her own age, maybe a few years older, whose careful composure couldn't quite hide the intensity in his dark eyes. He moved with purpose but not arrogance, and when he looked at her, There was something vulnerable in his expression that immediately complicated her anger. "Ms. Daniel," he said quietly, "we need to talk about what happened 3 days ago. If you've made it this far, you're about to witness the moment when everything Mercy thought she knew about her rescue gets turned upside down. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next." Mercy's fingers tightened on the invoice. "You're the man who paid for all this. The one Chi called." "Yes." Dante remained standing near the door, maintaining distance. "Though she didn't mean to call me. That number, it shouldn't even exist anymore. Yet it does. And now I owe you almost ₦1,000,000 for a rescue I didn't ask for." Mercy's voice was sharper than she'd intended, but fear made her defensive. "What exactly do you want in return, Mr. Kim?" Dante flinched as if she'd struck him. "I don't want anything." He stopped, seemed to reconsider his words. "That's not entirely true. I want to explain what happened. And I want to apologize." "Apologize?" Mercy hadn't expected that. "The number your daughter called was part of a decommissioned system from my company's early days. It was supposed to be shut down 7 years ago, but someone, probably me, failed to complete the termination protocol. That number got rerouted through our ghost security line, which is why it ended up on my personal device." He pulled out his own tablet, showing her a screen full of code and routing information that meant nothing to her. "Chi-Chi's call came directly to me because of my mistake. So you felt guilty and decided to play hero?" The words came out harsher than Mercy intended, but she couldn't seem to control the surge of emotions: gratitude, anger, humiliation, fear all tangled together. "No." Dante's voice was firm. "I answered because a child was crying for help. I dispatched my team because I have resources that could save your life. And I paid your bill because the only reason you needed those resources was my company's failure to properly decommission a security line. That's not how debts work in the real world, Mr. Kim." "I know." He finally moved closer, but stopped at the foot of her bed, maintaining respectful distance. "I know you think I'm some wealthy savior expecting gratitude or worse. I know this looks like the beginning of a transaction where I hold all the power. But I need you to understand something." He paused, and for the first time, Mercy saw past the careful corporate veneer to something raw underneath. 7 years ago, my younger sister collapsed at school. An undiagnosed heart condition. I was stuck in traffic in Seoul, 30 minutes away. The school called an ambulance, but there was an accident on the main road. Delays. Complications. By the time they got her to a hospital, it was too late. Dante's voice remained steady, but his hands gripped the bed rail. "I built Meridian Systems because I couldn't save her. Every protocol, every rapid response team, every backup system. It exists so that other people don't have to watch someone they love die because help came too slow." The room fell silent except for the soft beeping of the monitor. "When Chi called," Dante continued, "I heard my sister in her voice. I heard every second I wasted stuck in traffic. And I decided that if I had the power to help this time, I would. Not because I expected anything in return, but because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't." Mercy felt her anger deflating, replaced by something more complicated. "You can't save everyone, Mr. Kim. I know, but I could save you. And I did. The bill is paid. There are no strings. No expectations. No debt." He placed a second business card on her table. This one with just a phone number written on the back in neat handwriting. "This is my direct line. The real one, not the ghost number. If you ever need help with anything, call. If you never want to hear from me again, that's fine too. But please don't think of this as a debt you owe. Think of it as the universe working the way it's supposed to, where people with resources help people who need them." He turned to leave, and Mercy found herself speaking before she decided to. "Mr. Kim." He stopped, looked back. "Thank you." The words felt inadequate, but they were genuine. "Chi told me you stayed on the phone with her. That you kept her calm. That matters more than the hospital bill." Something shifted in Dante's expression, relief, perhaps, or gratitude. "She's an exceptional child. You should be very proud." "I am." Mercy glanced at the business card. "This number you gave me. Does it work both ways?" "What do you mean? Can I call you if I want to thank you properly? When I'm not lying in a hospital bed feeling like I've lost all control of my life?" The smallest smile touched Dante's lips. "Yes. It works both ways." After he left, Mercy stared at the card for a long time. She should throw it away. She should forget this ever happened. She should go back to her normal life of hustle and survival and never think about the Korean billionaire who'd crashed into her world like a meteor. But Chi-Chi's words echoed in her mind. He was so nice, Mommy. He talked to me until the doctors came. And Mercy realized that whatever came next, Dante Kim had already changed something fundamental. He'd shown her daughter that help could come from unexpected places. That strangers could be kind. That the world sometimes worked the way it was supposed to. 3 days later, discharged with orders to rest and follow up with her regular doctor, Mercy sat in her apartment staring at the pitch deck she'd never finished. The deadline had passed. West Atlantic Bank had surely moved on to another designer. The opportunity of a lifetime gone. Her phone buzzed. An email from an address she didn't recognize. Ms. Daniel, we received your portfolio through a professional referral and would like to discuss a potential project. Our brand refresh campaign requires someone with your aesthetic sensibility and understanding of the Nigerian market. Please contact us at your earliest convenience to schedule an interview. Reference code Organic Reach. The sender, West Atlantic Bank. Mercy's hands trembled as she opened a second email, this one from an address she did recognize, Dante Kim. I didn't pull strings. I mentioned your work to a contact when it genuinely fit what they needed. The reference code means you'll be judged on merit alone. I hope you don't mind. DK. She picked up her phone and dialed the number on his card. He answered on the second ring. Ms. Daniel. Mercy, she corrected. If we're going to be, whatever this is, you should call me Mercy. Dante, he replied. And what is this? I don't know yet. Mercy surprised herself with her honesty. But I think I'd like to find out. Chi-Chi wants to thank the phone man properly. And maybe I do too. I'd like that. One condition, Mercy said firmly. We split the bill. Whatever this is, it starts equal. There was a pause then. Deal. Can I pick the restaurant? Only if I pick the next one. That implies there will be a next one. Mercy smiled, feeling something light and unexpected bloom in her chest. Let's see if you survive the first one, Mr. Kim. 2 weeks later, in a quiet restaurant in Ikoyi that Dante had chosen specifically because it wasn't flashy, Mercy watched her daughter charm a billionaire CEO into complete submission. Chi-Chi asked endless questions about emergency systems, logistics, and whether Dante had ever met Spider-Man. He answered each question with complete seriousness, and Mercy found herself seeing past the corporate armor to someone genuinely kind. Your mommy is brilliant, Dante told Chi-Chi at one point. Did you know she designs spaces that help people live better? That's what she always says. Chi-Chi beamed. She says buildings should feel like hugs. That's the best design philosophy I've ever heard. Mercy watched them interact and felt something dangerous taking root in her heart. This man had saved her life, had respected her boundaries, had helped without taking away her agency. And now he was making her daughter laugh with stories about supply chain disasters that somehow became funny in his telling. When his phone rang with an emergency, a genuine crisis at a construction site across Lagos, Mercy saw him transform into the person who'd commanded a rescue operation in minutes. His calm authority, his quick decisions, his absolute certainty that he could solve whatever problem had emerged. I'm sorry, he said, already standing. I have to. Go, Mercy said. We understand. He hesitated, looking torn between duty and something else. I'll call you later? You better. After he left, Chi-Chi turned to her mother with that too-knowing expression. Mommy, you smiled at him different. Different how, baby? Like you smile at me. The real smile. Mercy couldn't deny it. Somewhere between resentment and gratitude, between suspicion and trust, something had shifted. Dante Kim wasn't a debt or an obligation. He was possibility. That night, when her phone rang and his name appeared on the screen, Mercy answered with her heart pounding. The crisis is handled, Dante said without preamble. And I realized something. What's that? I said I didn't want anything in return for helping you. But that was a lie. Mercy's stomach tightened. Here it comes, she thought. The real price. I want to know what happens next, Dante continued. With you. With us. I want to see where this impossible, illogical, completely unprecedented situation leads. Not because I saved you, but because when I'm with you, I feel like maybe I'm not just the person who builds systems to prevent disasters. Maybe I'm someone who deserves a miracle too. Mercy closed her eyes, feeling tears she didn't understand. That's all you want. That's everything I want. Then I think we can arrange that. 6 months later, at a charity gala launching a new emergency response training program for Lagos, Mercy stood next to Dante wearing a dress that made her feel like royalty. Chi-Chi, in a tiny paramedic costume she'd insisted on, charmed donors with explanations of triage procedures she'd learned from Dr. Adeyemi. "She's going to run my company one day," Dante murmured in Mercy's ear. "Or mine," Mercy countered. Her design firm, launched with her first payment from West Atlantic Bank, was already getting attention. "Or both." He took her hand. "Have I mentioned that calling the wrong number was the best mistake anyone ever made?" Mercy squeezed his fingers, remembering the terror of that day, the humiliation of the hospital bill, the slow building of trust that had led them here. "Every day. You mention it every day." "Good. I want you to never forget that sometimes the universe breaks all its own rules to put the right people together." As Chi-Chi demonstrated proper chest compression techniques to a delighted crowd, Mercy leaned against Dante and thought about impossible things. About wrong numbers and right people. About strangers who became saviors who became something more. "Hey," she whispered. "Thank you for answering the phone." Dante kissed her temple. "Thank you for falling. For calling. For giving me a chance to be more than just the person I built myself to be." And in that moment, surrounded by the evidence of two lives irreversibly changed by a single panicked phone call, Mercy understood that some debts were meant to be paid forward. That some rescues saved more than lives, they saved futures. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button and share it with someone who believes in second chances and unexpected miracles. Because sometimes calling the wrong number is exactly how you find your way home.